Welcome, everyone. It's time for another edition of Spooky News from Spooky Ventures. This is the October 28th, 2022 edition. This is, of course, the final one before Halloween. So that means that while all year is spooky season for those of us in the spooky tribe, that season is drawing to a close for the rest of the world. We will all continue to keep it spooky, though. It's a lifestyle, not a season. Before I get to the news, I have the usual announcements to make. First, after I'm done talking, please stick around. You'll see all the URLs that were used as sources for these news articles, so you can find out more information about any of the things that interest you. Next up, this YouTube channel is supposed to be interactive, so please interact. You can do that by subscribing to the channel, liking our videos, and sharing our videos. You can also do that by leaving a comment. And if there is something you think we should know about, perhaps for a future spooky news show, or someone you think we should interview for our spooky interviews, please let us know. Also, this channel is just one piece of the Spooky Ventures experience. Be sure to check out the main site at spookyventures.com and shop for Spooky Ventures merch at cafepress.com/spookyventures. With all of that out of the way, let's get to the news items for this edition. Since this is really the final weekend of the season, let's start with something specifically tied to that season. First, we'll look at a haunted attraction in Monroe, New York. That attraction is called the Pure Terror Scream Park, and it has the distinction of holding the world record, of the Guinness variety actually, as the world's longest haunted house. It encompasses 10 different haunted houses that you have to make your way through. Now, if it earned that distinction in 2015, but it still holds it to this day. So it might be too late to make the road trip, but if you're close enough, you certainly can, and I would guess it would be worth it. And if you don't make it this year, with that history and claim to fame, I'd be very, very surprised if they aren't around again next year. From a haunted attraction, let's move on to what is said to be an unusual haunting of the more real-life variety. A lady named Linda Hill, as far as I know, she's no relation to me despite the same last name, has a rental home in Gainesville, Texas, that she claims is haunted by spirits of a sexual nature. According to Hill, she had trouble keeping tenants in the home and came to the realization that it was haunted. When taking a shower in the house, she saw a figure in the room with her that said, "Looking good," leading her to decide on the sexual nature of the home. Well, that was one event that led her to that conclusion. The other was the rumor that the home had at one time been the home of a brothel. Now, she and her husband are offering the house for rental to people looking to do paranormal investigations. If she's right about the spirits and their nature, it might be an unusual ghost hunt. Next, let's move to another type of spooky story, namely the one you personally are waiting to write. As a writer, I can tell you that a lot of times once you have the idea, a lot of the work is actually done. Well, the New York Times is looking to help you out with that part. They've put up a group of 25 pictures meant to serve as prompts for you to write the horror story you want to tell based on those pictures. For those who have never written or experienced writers looking for something to get them started on a fresh new tale, this is a really cool thing. It is also an instance where you really need to look for those URLs at the end, because I'll have the link to take you directly to the page with those photo prompts. Well, it's also going to be in the details section of the video, of course, as it always is. Personally, I'd love to see stories written by a number of people prompted by the same picture. I'm a big fan of variant projects like that. Next up is a story about Mike Flanagan's upcoming Fall of the House of Usher television series. One might expect, given the story on which it's drawn and the type of stuff that Flanagan is known for, that the series would be a gothic horror journey. In a recent interview, though, Flanagan said that it's his first foray into the Italian genre known as giallo. That means it is likely to be sexual and brutal with a lot of gore. That will be a big change from Poe's original material and from what we are used to from Flanagan. For our final actual news article for this time, I come back to a familiar subject for me. That subject is Svengoolie. I think of the 6 spooky news shows I've done this spooky season, he has been featured as a news item in 4. That's partly because I'm a big fan, but it's also because he's been generating a lot of news stories about him this season. And I like that because it gives me plenty of excuses to include him in these spooky news segments. Svengoolie is a TV show that bears the name of the horror host character played by Rich Koz. Koz also writes the show and is in general the main man behind all of it, although he does have a team to help him. It airs on Saturdays on MeTV, and as I said, I am a big fan. Well, news just came out that Nika is going to be releasing a new Svengoolie action figure. It's going to be part of their Toonie Terrors series, and it features Sven holding his trusty rubber chicken co-host Kerwin. There are no more details at this time, at least while I'm writing this, about the release date or the price, but I consider this great news and will be looking forward to getting one for myself. Now that draws us to the end of the actual news. As always, I'll be talking about some dates from our spooky calendar. You can always find the spooky calendar by visiting the main page at spookyventures.com. If you scroll down to the bottom of the main page, you will see the link for the spooky calendar. We list things that are of interest to fans of all things spooky, like movie and book release dates, events and birthdays of famous people in the horror community, those types of things. The first event from the calendar I want to mention is one that I'll be attending. This is of interest to folks in the Rockford, Illinois area. Tonight, from 7 to 9, there will be a spooky author reading and Halloween party at Maze Books. Featured readers will be myself, along with M.K. Davis, Dan Clefstad, and Maze Books owner Dave Pedersen. Maze Books is located at 117 South 3rd Street in Rockford, just behind the Irish Rose. I'll have a number of my books there that you can purchase and get signed, too. There are several new movies opening today. The first of those is Pray for the Devil. I've seen a trailer for that one, and it looks pretty creepy. I'm not sure how big a theatrical release it's getting, but I know it does open today. I am lacking more details on 2 other films that open today, but on those I haven't seen the trailers. The movies are A Savannah Haunting and The Lair. There's also a Halloween double feature opening today. I'm guessing it's in select theaters, and I haven't been able to find out if it's a one-day thing, despite some research, but I think it's likely it will run through Monday at least. This twofer includes the original Halloween movie that started the whole franchise, along with the newly released Halloween Ends. Halloween itself, Monday, sees the release of a movie called Appetite for Sin. Fatal Influence, Like Follow, opens the next day on Tuesday, November 1st. A week from today, November 4th, sees the release of Soft and Quiet and the horror comedy Phone Bahoot. Again, I'm not sure the details of those releases, just that they will come out on the 4th. The final event on the calendar for the next 8 days is the publication of Put the Spooky Back into Christmas. It's a collection of vintage holiday horror that I'm publishing through Tales of Wonder and Dread Publishing, and it will be out on November 1st. You'll be able to find it at lulu.com/spotlight/strange sound starting that date. Now, this brings us to the actual end of this edition of Spooky News. Generally in the off-season, that means the time when the rest of the world has moved on from spooky stuff, there aren't all that many spooky news items each week. So this will be the last one of these I'll be doing for a while. Generally, I plan to try to do at least one per month, but this past year I completely failed at that. Hopefully I'll do better this time. Either way, I'd like to wish you a great Halloween weekend and Halloween day, and end with a reminder to always keep it spooky. Spooky Ventures is the home for spooky content and spooky merchandise on the web. Check it out today at spookyventures.com. And remember, always keep it spooky.